In 1989, this was a picture of me. I lived underneath the Georgia Street Viaduct in the downtown east side of Vancouver. I was a liar, a thief, a cheat, and a mooch. I was a heroin addict. And I thought at that point and stage in my life that there was no redemption, that there was no possibility of transformation, that that's just how life was going to be from now on. I'd given up hope on myself. But fortunately, I live in a country where there's people like you, that when certain individuals give up that hope, that we don't give up on them. I used to be one of those guys that walked around town with the shopping cart and I collected cans. You know, I was one of those guys, and I had become so disenfranchised from society, I didn't even want to communicate with people anymore. I just wanted to go and dig in dumpsters and get my cans so that I could get my $10 or $20 by the end of each day, and hopefully get enough of that substance so that I could make it through the night. And I never did. And every night I would descend into that darkness of withdrawal. And the only way that I can describe opiate withdrawal to you, it's like the worst flu you've ever had in your life. The head is pounding and the stomach is turning and the knees are banging, and it's just like all you want is relief. And you know that $10 will make it go away. Every single one of us in this room has been through the tough stuff that life throws at us. We face it in our families, we face it in our communities, we face it with our kids, we face it in our businesses, and we face it with our health. And I believe at a deep level that being able to take and not take life so seriously and having that sense of humor is one of the greatest assets that we can take to adversity today. Wouldn't you agree? Growing up in Ontario, I lived an hour and a half north of Toronto in a little town called Midland, Ontario. I had an older brother and a younger sister. We lived at 759 Dominion Avenue. We had a little dog named Angus, and if you looked at my life, it was pretty much a typical, normal, middle-class Canadian family. There were no indications whatsoever that I was going to grow up and be one of these homeless kids living on Granville Street or in the downtown east side of Vancouver, but that's what happened. And I asked the question, how did a good kid from a good family end up down here? And I didn't have an answer for that. It was in that moment where I became teachable for the very first time in my life. You know, I believe that discontentment is the catalyst to change. It's not until we finally get banged up against stuff long enough that we say, "Uncle, okay, I'll do what I need to do to change." In that moment of humanity, Gus looked at possibility, not probability. Gus looked at potential, not at what was in front of him. Gus looked past the scruffy beard and the yellow teeth and the layered clothes and the matted hair and the stink. And he spoke to what could be, and he said, "There's more to you than you can see." On the count of three, I want you to take a look at your partner or your group, and I want you to say, "There's more to you than you can see." Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. There's more to you than you can see. Very good. Now turn and face me. And I end up enrolling at Loyalist College. And I remember when I got onto Loyalist College's campus, I looked and I thought, I had these two distinct thoughts. I said, one, 6 months ago, this college wouldn't have let me use the bathroom. And then the next thought I had was, boy, is there ever a lot of cans around here. I knew I was destined to be an entrepreneur, right? I had a B plan in the first week, right? And literally within 4 years, we took this tiny little company in the basement of our home with simply a dream into a multi-million-dollar company. And in less than 11 years, I went from being that guy who pushes that shopping cart with no possibility to being on the cover of Canadian Business and Maclean's magazine. Now, thank you. It's an extraordinary spot in Vancouver. There's about 60,000 people, and I began to have a different distinction as a Canadian. I began to reflect on this country that we get to call home. That we live in a country that's free of dictatorship and war. That we live in a country that fosters business development and growth. We live in a country that does spend money on its poor and its marginalized. I live in a country that paid for my detox, that paid for my treatment, that paid for my college education, and continues to subsidize my health care. I live in a country where you can go from Skid Row to CEO. Hold on, wait for it. Then he scored in overtime and the place went nuts. And whether you were from here or not, you became an honorary Canadian because everyone around this great planet of ours knew what me and my family have known for a very long time, that we live in one of the best places on planet Earth. We are the true north, strong and free, and I know this because my name is Joe and I am Canadian. That's from a beer commercial. Oh man, they paid me for this.